If you have been thinking of moving to Houston and want to know the worst possible things or why some people I've helped have ultimately decided not to move to Houston, then this video is for you. Hello and welcome. I'm Danielle and I'm a realtor here in the Houston area, and I help you either build or find your dream home before relocating here. One of the biggest reasons is because of the property taxes here. We have higher than average property tax, ranging anywhere from 2% all the way up to 3.7% in some of the larger brand new master plan communities. Just to put that in perspective, that is an additional $18,000 annually or $1,500 a month added onto your monthly mortgage payment for a house that is $500,000. That can significantly change how much someone can afford here. The good news is we do have some exemptions that help bring the property tax down a little bit lower, and we have no state income tax here in Texas, so often a lot of people find moving here from another state that it kind of evens out without having income tax here. For those of you moving here from a state that has low property tax and no state income taxes, then it is definitely a big expense to consider. Although it doesn't happen very often, Houston is a city that is prone to flooding, whether it be from the occasional hurricane or a severe thunderstorm. There are some areas that are more prone to flooding than other areas, so when you are moving here, it is important to do your research and figure out where you want to live and how much of a flood risk you actually want. It is important to consider though that even if you are out of a floodplain, that does not mean that you have no risk of flooding. In fact, 37% of insurance claims here in Houston were for homes that were outside of the floodplain. So Houston's terrain is always changing, and it's important to get flood insurance even if you are not in a flood area. And speaking of weather, it is very hot and humid here for a majority of the year. In fact, you can anticipate it being in the 90s with humidity for at least a good 5 months of the year. I'm from the West Coast where it's a dry heat, and I would say that the humidity and heat here is much more tolerable than there, but it is all personal preference. Just know that if you're moving to Houston, you can expect humidity and heat, and we do have some crazy weather occasionally, whether it be a hurricane or thunderstorms or even a tornado. Another reason people are changing their minds about living in Houston is that we are not as affordable as we once were. In fact, the average price of a home right now is in the 400s, whereas a couple of years ago it was in the 200s. So some people initially come here thinking they can get a huge house for $300,000. And although that is the case for some areas of Houston, for a majority of areas in Houston now that is near impossible. So some people change their mind at that point. Although if you're coming from many other out-of-state markets, especially on the East Coast or the West Coast, we are still a very affordable market compared to that. Another reason is Houston is a huge city and too big for some. In fact, it'll take you a few hours to get from one end to the other, and our city is very car dependent. There might be a few neighborhoods here and there where you can get by with public transportation or walking, but for the most part, a car is almost a necessity when living here in Houston. If you are thinking of moving to this city and have no idea where you want to live, I would recommend that you come for a few days as a preliminary exploratory trip to see all the different areas before you come for your official house hunting trip. Number 6 is crime. Yes, we are a big city with big city crime. We are one of the 3rd or 4th largest cities in the country, and with so many people naturally comes a higher than average crime rate. You should definitely do your research and figure out the different areas that you want to live. Some are safer than others. I know that there are many areas of Houston where I feel completely safe and don't feel like crime is an issue, but you definitely have to do your research because there are some areas of Houston that do have a lot of crime. But this is something you should definitely research and consider before moving to Houston. And the last reason I've heard from people changing their mind about moving to Houston is that it's ugly. Although we have a ton of trees and green spaces and parks and natural bayous, and we have Galveston and the Gulf Coast, this is not everyone's cup of tea. It is very flat here. We have no mountains, and the outdoor recreation activities are limited here. Some people also don't like that we have a lot of oil refineries and industrial areas of the city. This is not my opinion. I personally think Houston is a beautiful city, but again, it is not everyone's cup of tea. If you currently live or have lived in Houston, please comment down below what you love and hate about living here. And if you are thinking of moving to the Houston area and would like assistance, feel free to message me. I would love to help you out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.